Hey folks, Curtis here. I'm up at my property and it's a beautiful spring day, a little windy, so hopefully the noise doesn't get in the video here too much. But it's been a while since I made videos and I actually wanted to talk about why that is in this video. So this one will be a bit of a walk and talk around the homestead and just giving you guys a big update about what's been going on in my life in the last, year to arguably 3 years, but particularly the last few months. A lot has changed in my life. If you have followed me on X, I've talked a little bit about it, but I didn't say too much. But I definitely did come out with the fact that my wife was not doing well within the last number of months. And she actually, unfortunately passed away, almost 2 months ago now. And, kind of wanted to give you guys a bit of a big update on where I'm at and, how we're doing and all of that. So maybe I'll start with I'll go back a little bit. So, people have noticed, I've seen it in the comments on my YouTube channel for quite a long time. People have noticed that I just haven't been posting very much. And that really did start in a way 3 years ago. But within the last year, really, I had to really step back in the last year. My wife was not doing well, and she had a pretty long and grueling struggle with breast cancer. And at the time, I didn't feel the need to share that with anybody publicly. I mean, what's the point? You tell people that you've got breast cancer and everybody just throws, try this, try that, try that. And I'm not going to get into any of those details. We tried all of that shit. We tried everything. We tried everything that wasn't allopathic. That's what I can say. I mean, everything, no, not literally, but we tried a lot of things outside of allopathy. So no chemo, no radiation, none of that stuff, no surgery. It didn't end well for us, I guess you could say. But this isn't new news. This is new to you, hearing this now. This may be news to you now, but it's not news to myself, my children, or my family at large. This is we have been dealing with this for a while now, and we have been going through all of the processes of grief, and we've gone through them, and we actually we're doing okay. We're actually doing okay. And so, but yeah, the last year really got serious with my wife and her breast cancer, and I pretty much just had to drop everything and just do that. So be a caretaker for my wife, as well as just being constantly on the lookout for other solutions. She was very adamant about what she wanted and how she wanted to do it, and we did it her way the whole way. But I was there to help her in every which way that I did. And it was constant, and so that meant that I just pretty much had to stop making videos. I could really just do the minimum of what needed to be done for us to keep things going along. And I stepped back. Like, I didn't do much with construction last year. I was around to supervise and make sure things were moving along, but I wasn't involved in that. I did the gardens, I did things. I'm a productive guy. I can get things done under unforeseen circumstances. But I still did have to really, really step back. And so, yeah, now a lot has changed for me. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's surreal. It's hard to imagine. You never imagine that you could lose the mother of your children. And if you think about it, it's something that you don't even want to think about. If it comes across your mind, it's literally like one of the worst things that can happen to somebody. Perhaps maybe losing a child, but losing somebody in any way is terrible. And we all do lose people, and that's life. That's part of life. It's the cycle of life. And so I guess you could say that though myself and my children have been through a lot of hardship in this year so far, we're actually at a lot better of a place right now, because my wife is no longer suffering, and we're no longer having to constantly just all hands on deck work towards, getting her better, which is what it was for many, many months. And the last 4 months in particular, were just all hands on deck and just nonstop. And so it's, yeah, I didn't, I wanted to do this video just to kind of come out and say things, and I didn't have a script, or I wanted to say some things and not say too much. Like, I didn't want to get into too much detail, because I don't really feel the need to share too much about my personal life. At the same time, I have been out there talking to people the way that I have for many years. So I guess you could say I feel a little bit of a obligation to share some things with you guys, and just be real, and just so you can kind of understand what my situation is now, because it's not what it was. And all these things behind me here, we bought this property at right in the thick of the COVID show. We bought this property September 2020, took possession of it September 2020, and then really started cranking on it April 2021. And so we've been, that's 4 years. It's April now, 2025 as I record this. So 4 years of just cranking on this property, doing all these things. And nothing here would have been possible without my wife. And how crazy is it now that I sit here, on this property. We own it. We don't have a mortgage. It's a permaculture prepper's dream. We're so set up that it's crazy that, my wife and I worked on this, and then just as we finally move into the house, which we live in the house now, we had been living in this cabin for the last 3 years. We move into the house, and then she's no longer around. It's fucking crazy. And as I say, I've done my grieving, so I'm not going to be getting teary-eyed on this video. I'm actually right now. I'm honestly in the best place that I've been in a while, as far as my mental fortitude, my spiritual fortitude. Getting over a little bit of a cold, so my voice sounds maybe a half tone lower than it would normally. But I feel incredible, and my kids are doing good, and we see a lot of positive things on the horizon right now. We've actually, with this whole process of my wife passing, and even up to, we just had so many friends and family show up for me too. A lot of old friends just showed up and really helped. And man, I feel so blessed to be sitting here today talking to you about this and getting through it, because there was times during the grief that I just, you just don't know how you can carry on, But the truth of the matter is, like I said, this might be news to you, but this is not news to us. My wife was in pain for a long time. And the last year, for sure, and then the last 4 months, absolute, pain. But even prior to that, she had some serious postpartum after our second child, and that really really affected her and me. And a crazy thing about death is that when somebody you're close to passes, you sometimes don't really process or have you don't have a perspective on it the same as after they pass, because because of my wife was going through all these transitions and I was with her the whole way. You're kind of lost in the fog of battle, if you will. Like you're there's so much changing, there's so many variables, there's so many things to try and do and people to talk to, and I'm a problem solver. And so, when this whole thing started, I just went to work. I just went into solve problems, and that's the thing I do on a regular basis. So that's how people know me, really. You get lost in the fog of war. You lose perspective on what has changed, and are you getting better? Was it getting better? There was times in all of it where I actually thought Katie was getting better, and I really believed, because I sort of arrogantly, steadfastly kept an optimistic perspective for her mostly. But that's who I am. I'm an optimistic guy, and I always try to find the brighter side of things. And so it's been a part of me for a very long time that we just did that, but then we lost perspective. And it wasn't really until, we got to the hospital, and the last 2 weeks of Katie's life where it was in the hospital. And I will say that we were treated very well. They didn't force anything on us that we didn't want. There was no judgment. It was surprisingly a good experience. And we got looked after. We got all the things that we needed and more. But it wasn't until we got there where she was pretty much just drugged and time kind of seemed to slow down that I didn't really put it together how bad it actually had been for the last 3 years, and how there had been this continual state of decline in some ways. And at first, in the first couple years of it, it wasn't so noticeable, because it was mostly just mental illness and some things that came out of that, some other physical ailments that came out of Katie as a result of the mental illness. I think they're all connected. Yeah, you get this perspective once it's all done. You look back and it's just, been over the last, months, really. Her mother and I, her brother and my daughter, my oldest, have just had so much time to reflect and share about our observations and things that we saw during all of that process, and how we noticed that the writing was kind of on the wall for a long time. And so, yeah, again, like, this may seem news to you or new to you, but it's not new to us at all. This has been going for a long time, and yeah, it's come to a close now. And so, yeah, I mean, here I am. I'm a widowed single father, and I'm on this homestead journey now, and it's going to look a lot different than it has in the past 10 years, or the past three years up on this property. It's going to be very different. My context is very different. My wife was an unbelievable homemaker, who was a professional at first. She was a professional photographer, had an unbelievable portfolio and just line of work, and was a real go-getter and a very overachiever in her vertical, and was revered amongst her peers. And but she took that same amount of entrepreneurialism and hustle into being a mom and into being a homemaker and a homesteader, and is unbelievable. And so now I've inherited, this, all of this from her. But I guess I want you guys to realize, and maybe give you some food for thought for other men out there who are, who have wives or who are looking for wives or whatnot, is that you really are only as good as the woman with you. And and society today really has changed those roles, those gender roles. They've really fucked with the nuclear family and the idea of it. But really, a man can really only do what a woman is willing to support him through. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that are successful entrepreneurs that don't have women, and that's not the point I'm trying to make. I guess I'm just trying to be more realistic about me, and maybe instead of trying to think macro, which my mind always has a tendency to do, I just always go into like these big issues and things, because that's just where my mind is always trying to solve problems and think about, the way the world is going to go, or the way the world is, and the way it ought to be, and whatnot. But if I just bring it back down to me, maybe you'll find your own way to relate. But yeah, I couldn't have done any of this without her, and so now I've got it. Like, now we're here. Like, we've achieved this unbelievable benchmark, and now it's just me and my kids, which is crazy. It's crazy, but my kids are good. My kids are really good. One thing I'll share with you is that during the long process where Katie was in a lot of pain, something happened in that period of time that I kind of could see why it was happening, is that she was in so much pain, especially the last 4 months, like in the house. It was really hard to be in the house. I had some trades guys finishing up little things here and there, and I had to ask them to just go. Like, you can't be in the house. It's too much. Like, it's difficult being in a house with somebody who's in so much pain. But it was really difficult on myself, the kids, and her mother and her brother. And we, during that time, my children sort of transitioned their dependency from mom to dad. And it was a really far out thing to observe, because, anybody out there who has kids knows that when your child is born, they are 100% attached to mom for like a good run, probably 2 years, at least until they're finished breastfeeding. And then, years 3, 4, 5, they shift a percentage of dependency over towards dad, especially if you have a father who's present and not just gone. And so that's certainly what happened with us. But during the process where Katie was really in pain, it went from 50-50 to like 90-10, then to like 99-1, where and I remember witnessing it during the time, because it was just always on hand and foot, whatever Katie needed. We did all these different protocols and all these different types of therapies, and myself and her mother were the ones that were just in charge of this day in and day out. And so but it was really far out to see my kids all of a sudden just become obsessed with me, and before she even passed. And then by the time she passed, the kids had been transitioned, if you will. And my kid, everybody always asks me, like, how are the kids? Oh my God, like what a terrible thing to have happen. And yes, no question. But it was almost like this sort of, I don't know, like a poetic, spiritual thing where she knew she was going to go, and so her spirit made her body create pain to transition the children away, so that when she passed, it wasn't a shock, and there wasn't any trauma, and that's how it went. And I feel very blessed that that's how it was, because I've had friends, and I've also lost people in my life where it was a shock. It was just like one day they're there, the next day they're gone. That's a very traumatizing way to lose a loved one. But the way that happened with us, it wasn't that way. And it certainly wasn't a shock to me, because I was at her bedside the whole way, and I knew what was going on. And probably a week into us getting to the hospital, her brother and I kind of going like, there's nothing getting better here. Like, it was getting, I was, like I said, I was arrogantly trying to just be as steadfastly optimistic as I could to kind of try to manifest the outcome. But I think it's not just about my outcome. It was about her outcome. It was actually about what she wanted. And there was a couple things that happened up until that I'll share that are sort of personal, but I'll share, is that a couple days before we went to the hospital, which was really the cascade of when things really started to go downhill. And it wasn't because we went to the hospital, as we had to go to the hospital. There was no other choice. Her lungs were filling up with the fluid, and there was no choice. But we didn't go to the hospital for the longest time. And so she didn't suffer through years of chemo and radiation, which some people do. And so in retrospect to that, maybe it wasn't all so bad. But number of days before we went to the hospital, she told me she had this dream. And she said there was a man in her dream that loved her unconditionally, and it wasn't me. And I was like, I didn't think much of it at the time. But then I pieced together with another thing that happened where she kept saying to me while she was in the hospital, she'd be like, who's behind me, Curtis? Who's behind me? And who we believe was behind her was her grandmother bringing her to Christ. And we're not practicing Christians, though I would say, we're sort of default Christian, I guess, in a way with our heritage and whatnot, but we don't go to church or anything like that, but we are, I guess, in some ways or another. And so I believe that was Christ that she saw, and I believe it was her mother. Her mother died the exact same. Her grandmother. Sorry, not her mother. Her mother's still alive. Katie's grandmother died the exact same day as her of breast cancer in the same breast 7 years ago. That's crazy. That's crazy synchronicity. And up until that point, her mom kept saying, "Oh my God, I wonder if she's going to die on this day." And she did. And she was finally at peace. And we believe that she had another calling. She was needed on the other side. And she came into this life for this purpose, to get me here with my kids and leave for the period that we're going into, which I believe, not to make this video political or anything, it's not, but it does tie into my overall perspective, is that I do believe we are going into some difficult times ahead, and I think she wanted to be gone for that. My wife suffered from anxiety for a very long time, and during the times where things got really hairy quickly, sometimes she wasn't an asset to be around. Didn't mean that I didn't love her, didn't mean that I didn't tolerate it. We tolerate we accept the people that we love unconditionally, we accept their flaws. But during COVID, it was another example of that. My wife did not do well during COVID. Which meant that I took the brunt end of all the bullshit with the masks and all that shit, and had to put up with the BS, and I sheltered her from it. But there were times when we would go out and she got to witness a little bit of what I saw on a daily basis, and it didn't do well for her. COVID, in a way, that period of time scarred her and added to her old pent-up anxiety and trauma from her past that she that manifested into her cancer. That's what I believe. But COVID didn't help either, and so needless to say, my wife wasn't the best person to have around when the going gets tough fast and you have to make fast decisions and think on your feet. And so something in me believes that she needed to be gone for this period. And so my daughter believes that as well. And we've come to a lot of these conclusions by just kind of like sharing and talking through our grief and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah. That's where I'm at. That's me. I will tell you that I feel great. I've come through this. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to do new things. I'm ready to take life by the horns again and make shit happen. I've had one real solid year of not really doing that much. Not as much as I wanted to, so to speak. I mean, I guess I'm a pretty productive guy that even what I consider not much is a lot for some people, but that's just me. That's where I'm at. And so this is going to be a big year. There's a lot of stuff coming on. There's a lot of stuff going on, coming up. And I guess I'll be sharing that with you as we go through. And you'll see me. I've got back on, I'm on X. I've been there for about a year now. There'll be more videos coming here on YouTube. I've created a new Instagram account. I'm back out there. And so I'm ready to just move forward, and we're excited. We're very excited. We have incredible support. I mean, my family has been an absolute blessing. The social capital that I have with my community here has just been unbelievable. The people that have showed up for us and are helping us. It's a real testament to relationships and the importance of building relationships in your community. And we've certainly been making deposits into that for many years, and now we're taking some withdrawals, I guess you could say. And so there's been a lot of people out there, you know who you are, who have been very, very helpful and inspirational for us. So yeah, that's where I'm at, folks. And you'll be hearing from me soon. And much love. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.